morning, rise and shine, everyone. It's 7:30 on this Friday morning, June 20th, 2025. And I'm Ellen Tibbetts-Hurst, and I'm glad you could join me. And June is Brain and Dementia Awareness Month. And today is actually the longest day because today is the first day of summer solstice, where it is indeed the longest day of the year. But we will let you know why that's so important to dementia awareness a little bit later. But again, I have a great guest with me this morning, as I do every morning. I have Billy Curtis, and he is the program director for the Alabama chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. In this role, he oversees all the care and support functions of the chapter, working with a network of volunteers to provide education, resources, referrals, and caregiver support groups. Wow, that's a lot. Welcome, Billy.
Well,
thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
And let everyone know about the longest day and the significance that it is, that it has with dementia.
It's, of course, being the longest day, it kind of refers to sometimes the challenge and the burden, especially that falls on caretakers and caregivers when you have someone in your family who has a dementia diagnosis. So it's a way that we raise awareness because it is June and Alzheimer and Brain Awareness Month. And it's also one of our fundraisers because folks who are committed to the cause create their own fundraiser, usually something that they're already involved in, whether it be pickleball or cornhole or something, and do a fundraiser.
Fun.
And so it's a way for us to raise awareness and also raise money for research.
Right. And the good thing about it, too, and I think we need to tell the audience this, too, is just really, because we have a Alzheimer's walk I'll talk about that, too, but when you donate to the Alzheimer's Association, to like our walks, our specific Alabama walks, all that money stays in Alabama
right.
for research here, like UAB and so forth. So
there's
that's
some
wonderful.
great research happening in our state.
Yes, and since we're very high too, unfortunately, our statistics are not good in the state of Alabama when it comes to dementia and Alzheimer's. So let's talk about this, the statistics, especially here in Alabama. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we've got about 104,000 people in our state with a dementia diagnosis. We unfortunately are one of the highest in the country. I think something like 11% of people over 65 in our state do have a dementia diagnosis. We know that we have populations in our state that are more greatly affected, Hispanic and African American populations. We know we have a higher incidence of things like heart disease and obesity in Alabama, and those things contribute to the risk of dementia.
I'm sure.
And our diet probably doesn't help.
Oreos
in the state we fry a lot of stuff. Yes, we do.
We do. But look at those statistics. I mean, those are unbelievable. So, like a lot of people will say, well, why are those statistics higher in the state of Alabama? Like you said, it's because of obesity and diet,
demographics and habits, and
diabetes, heart disease.
Heart disease. We're finding more and more an incredibly strong connection between heart health and brain health. So
which would make sense because your brain lives off of oxygen.
Yes.
I mean, you have to have oxygen circulating up there.
Something like 25% of your oxygen that your heart pumps is taken up by your brain every heartbeat. And when you exercise, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but when you exercise, the whole point of exercise is to your blood's pumping. So when your blood's pumping, it pumps oxygen throughout your body, which is good for your brain. Yes. So exercise is good. So, wow. So that's not good statistic to have, guys. I mean, that's not very good. I mean, for Alabama to be very high. Are we number one in the United States? I don't think so.
I know at one time we were.
Yeah. I think we're higher than we want to be.
Right.
How about that?
Probably in the top 5 or
But you mentioned research. There's really significant research in our state. We've had presentations just done for us by folks in Huntsville who are doing research. We had a researcher in Tuscaloosa do a program for us a couple of weeks ago. There's great stuff at Sanford and at UAB. And Auburn's Pharmacy School is doing some really significant research.
Awesome.
And South Alabama. So north to south, we've got good stuff going on here.
Yeah, that's great that we have all these universities and all these great hospitals right here in Alabama. That's wonderful, and that they're taking the time and the initiative to because there's no cure. I mean, unfortunately, there's no cure. Not yet. Yeah, we're hoping to see that first cure, which leads me to talk a little bit about the walk right quick. I mean, the importance of donating to our walk, like I said, is because it goes straight to the state. It doesn't go federally. So when we do the walk, I always tell everyone to make sure that you donate to our walk. You go to www alz.org, and you can do the / and you can do East Central Alabama is our walk. So you can go there and you can donate money, because if you go just in generic to the alz.org, it just goes anywhere, right?
Maybe. I think you can sort it by zip code, but yes,
Okay.
the better way to do it is the way you named.
Yeah, to go through the walk, I think it's the best way to do it. And this year it's going to be October 12th, everyone. Just please make sure that you mark that on your calendar. It's East Central Alabama, so it's not just Calhoun County. It just so happens that it's going to be in Calhoun County. It's held at Jacksonville State University on campus off of Highway 21 in front of the Thayer Montgomery building. And it's October 12th at Jack State, and it's lots of fun. And people think a walk, and we're not expecting you to win a 5K. I mean, we're not expecting you to run and nobody win. I mean, everybody wins, kind of thing. And so you just walk on your own pace. It's like a little trail, little route that they have us go. But there's a finish line, which is always really fun. But there's always vendors there, and they always have like a pet station there and things for kids, like getting your face painted, all that good stuff. So make sure to mark October 12th for the walk. So we were talking about statistics and everything, and there's so many advances in treatment, early detection, and risk reduction. So where do you want to start with that? I mean,
we can talk about risk reduction if you want. To me, that's some of the most exciting news, because we're finding that we have the capacity, each of us, we each have our own level of risk, that's defined by our genetics, whether somebody in our family had it, if we're female, if we're African American. So all these things kind of go into the pool of things we can't change.
Right.
But we're finding there are more and more things we can affect to lower our risk. Heart health, good sleep patterns over long periods of time.
Do we have a
yeah, we had a graphic.
I have a graphic on that too. So it's the whole sleep cycle. You said make sure that
you want to make sure you've got long-term healthy sleep patterns, because it's during that deep sleep that your brain sort of clears out things. That's it.
Yep.
Challenge your mind. You want to do things that challenge your mind.
Anything to make you think.
Anything, but it's two different directions, because a lot of people think we'll do puzzles and crossword puzzles, and those are great. But we've also found out you need to be socially engaged, because that engagement with other people stimulates a different part of your brain.
Well, I tell my folks, because I do Alzheimer's dementia education too, I tell my folks to keep up with 5 people a week.
Yeah, it's good
because
exercise.
Like if you have to keep up with 5 people, folks, I mean that you have to remember what that person said the last time you talked to them, so it makes you know what I mean.
You've got to engage in 5 different conversations.
So 5 different conversations. So, and what are some of the other healthy
diet
habits?
is very important. Kind of what we would term the Mediterranean diet seems to be most aligned with the science right now. Extra virgin olive oil, hugely beneficial to your brain. So get away from butter. Try substituting that extra virgin olive oil where you can. Low-fat cuts of meat, fish, lots of fruits and vegetables. So just when you hear them talk about that Mediterranean diet and it rolls up in your Facebook page, that's kind of the direction we're sending people.
Right. And hey, you can even get, and I'm going to give a plug here to King's Olive Oil Company in Gadsden right quick, because she has olive oil in every flavor you could possibly imagine. And they have butter flavor olive oil, which is my favorite. And I cook a lot with that. I mean, I cook a lot of things with that butter flavored olive oil, because it's really good. I mean, it's extra virgin olive oil, but it's got a butter infused like flavor or whatever. But that's interesting. So, and maybe just education, go into little seminars or free events like we have one this week where you were the speaker. So anytime that we have anything for you to learn.
Yes, just keep your brain engaged.
And don't you think crafts or sewing, or somebody wants to do woodworking or tinkering with cars, anything that makes you think.
Yeah, it's going to force your brain to engage in different skills and thought processes. So anything you can do, just like a muscle, you want to work it out, you want to stimulate it.
If you don't use it,
you might lose it.
You lose it, right? Okay, yeah. So, wow, and and a lot of, and let's back up a little bit too about, because I get this question all the time. Just because my mama had it doesn't mean I'm going to get it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I always use the example of my mom passed away with breast cancer. Does that mean I'm going to get it? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, no, because I mean, am I more highly susceptible of getting it? Yes, because I have a higher risk because my mom had it. I have other risks because my mom had it, but does it mean I'm going to get it? Not necessarily.
Very similar with dementia. If a sibling or a parent has dementia. It does increase your risk, but it's not deterministic like some genes for some diseases where you say, oh, there's a gene, you're going to get it.
Right.
It's more of just your risk is higher because it is in your lineage.
Right. And there was a I guess a myth. Let's see if we bust this myth today. But there was a myth that I read about that said that some research has showed that it skipped generations. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that. I don't think that's reflected in the data we put out. And we try to make sure everything we put out is evidence-based.
Right.
We don't want,
And is it more prevalent? Like, I know it's more. If you're female, you have a higher risk than versus male.
That's correct.
But if, say, for instance, your grandmother had it versus your mother had it, I mean, is there any?
I still think you would be considered having a slightly higher risk.
Okay. So that answers some of, because I know I get that question a lot. I mean, because it's a scary disease. It's an ugly disease.
So. Yeah.
I mean, and like you said, there's no cure for it yet. And there's so many people that think, oh my gosh, well, my mother has it, but she's on this medicine. Well, it's not like taking an antibiotic where it gets rid of it, right?
Right. We've got the first 2 approved drugs to go in and clear out. You hear about the amyloid beta proteins that cause the plaque buildup in your brain. So we finally have 2 drugs that will address that, but they're not a cure for it. They'll go in and they'll help prevent and remove some of that buildup. But that doesn't cure the disease, and those are only effective if you catch it early.
Right.
You get into the middle stages.
And so, I mean, like if this is the latter stage over here of dementia, I always use the example, if you take some drugs here, it moves that part of the dementia down further that way.
That's
correct?
kinda,
because it just pushes the latter part.
Right, it is going to affect you. Like Aricept and Razidine and that class of drugs, those address the symptoms and do really well for a lot of people. But they're not curing the disease. They're kind of buying you 3, 4, 5 years of good cognitive health. And all they do is help the healthy brain cells communicate better. But the disease is still happening, and you're finally going to reach a point where they're not effective anymore.
Right. We're going to hold that thought because we're going to talk about that some more. We're going to take a short break. You're watching WEAC TV 24 Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cares program, and we will be right back.
I want to live. The leading cause of death of young Americans like me is gun violence, and oftentimes tied to substance misuse. NBA, NFL, NCAA, most of you look like me, and our communities need you now more than ever. Let's make I Want to Live more than just a hashtag. Let's make it a movement. I am a baller against bullets.
I'm Alan Parnell with Parnell Insurance Agency. We've been here in Oxford and Alabama, Tallapoosa, Georgia since 1990. With Auto Owners Insurance, we're able to give customers competitive pricing along with excellent coverages. Parnell Insurance can handle all of your personal, commercial, and life insurance needs. We have a very experienced staff, both personal and commercial. All together, we've got about 125 years experience. Come see what our insurance agency can do for you in Oxford, Alabama, and Tallapoosa, Georgia.
Auto Owners Insurance.
Hey guys, this is Blair Smith at Pediatrics Plus here in Anniston, located on Henry Road. I'm over here on the well side, but we do also have a sick side urgent care if you need us. We are more than happy to see you guys. Just come on, check us out if you get a fever, cough, or cold, or want to come in for a good checkup. Thank you.
Backus Bibles and Books is dedicated to providing churches as well as individuals with products and services geared towards strengthening every relationship with Christ. We specialize in Bibles, Bible imprints, Bible restoration, church supplies, home decor, gifts, and apparel. Call us at 256-201-1202 or visit us Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 1100 Highway Drive in Oxford, Alabama. We look forward to serving you, equipping the people of God to expand the kingdom of God.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cares program right here on WEAC TV 24. I'm Ellen Tibbetts-Hurst, and I'm sitting here with Billy Curtis from the Alzheimer's Association, and we're talking about the advances in treatment, early detection, and risk reduction in dementia. And there's just so much going on, which is exciting that there's so much new stuff going on in research and everything. So we were talking about the meds, and everybody's always heard of Aricept, because those were some of the older, the ones that first maybe came out
in the 90s. Yes.
You were talking about the drugs that are out now that that help with the plaques on the brain. Can you elaborate a little bit about that, about how that works?
Quick background, the basic mechanisms of what's going on in Alzheimer's is you have these beta amyloid plaques that begin to build up in the brain, and it's a protein, and it just forms like a sticky plaque. And so the brain cells start to die off because they can't communicate. So we have a new class of drugs, Leqembi and Kisunla, that do a fairly good job in a lot of people of almost washing away those plaques. The challenge is to get early enough detection for those drugs to do any good, because if we don't determine that someone has Alzheimer's till they're in the middle stages, the drug may wash out the plaques, but the brain has already been damaged so much because you can't recover what's already gone.
Right.
So we need to have the best possible early detection, and especially now we're finding that people are having stuff happening in the brain 5 years, 10 years, as much as 20 years before the first symptom appears. And so if we wait for symptoms to appear, it may already be too late.
Right. And that's what dementia is. And you have and I'm just going to go ahead and say, you have the umbrella called dementia, and then there's types of dementia, and Alzheimer's is just a type of dementia. It's just one of the most commonly diagnosed dementias. So in any type of dementia, like you said, parts of the brain is dying, and it doesn't grow back, guys. I mean, it doesn't come back. Their short-term memory's gone. They can tell you what they did 30 years ago, but can't tell you what they had for lunch. But you and I were talking a little bit on break, and this is another, I know every Friday I talk about things that nobody wants to talk about, but that's the whole point of this show, is to let you know what's out there, because there's people dealing with this every single day. There's so many caregivers and so many families, and when they're sent home from the doctor after a diagnosis, you don't have a manual, you don't have anything out there. So that's why we want to talk about all these kind of things. But you know, it's just so important for people to know, like you said, I mean, early detection. I mean, you know, it's so important, just like with cancer. You know, you go and have your checks and everything, you know, for that. And we were talking about how, on an average, a person who has dementia or Alzheimer or whatever kind of dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's, Lewy body, frontal lobe, whichever, most of the time, the person themselves that have it already know 2 to 3 years beforehand. It's already been going on, but they overcompensate and hide it because they're scared. They're scared they're going to lose their independence. They're thinking, oh, well, I was just forgetful. I need to write it on a sticky note next time. Or, you know, they just like to, and there is a difference between memory loss and dementia, too. That's two different things, because I use sticky notes all the time. I'm not saying that, but because I know this has happened in my own family. So when somebody hides it, it's hard to get that early detection because they're in denial, and that's why
you're losing those early years.
Yes, and guys, please listen to what Billy's saying, because this is so important. I mean, those new drugs that come out, they can work, but you have to have that early detection, that early onset, because once the damage is done, there's not really anything that those drugs can do anymore, right?
Yeah. And there has been, and people may have heard it in the news, the first FDA-approved blood test has just gone through its final stages of approval. I'm not sure exactly when that translates to being in your doctor's office, but it should be fairly short term, and it's just a blood test that very easily, through literally, you know, finger prick like other blood tests, they can detect those beta amyloid proteins in the blood that say, uh-oh, we need to look closer at the brain, there may be something going on. So that,
and they can have a scan or something.
Right, and then from there they could, you know, do a cognitive test. Your doctor, if he really wants to, could prescribe maybe a PET scan, which are super accurate. They can actually see on those the buildup of the plaques in the brain. So that will be a good way to get the diagnostic steps going to determine what needs to happen next.
Well, that's very interesting. I mean, early detection right?
Yes.
And we talked about early detection, talked about risk reduction, that we could get our sleep, eat right, exercise, keep your brain busy, all those kind of things. And any more advances in treatment?
There are the biomarkers, like the blood test, is probably where we're going to see the most very soon, because there are other things going on. They're working on retinal tests. They're working on more that they can do with MRIs and PET scans. So hopefully it's going to be on the detection front that we start to see some advances very, very soon. And like I said, that just gets the ball rolling, because better early detection, better treatment, and then we're going to see also more therapies come out. The second part of Alzheimer's after the beta amyloid proteins is the tau proteins, which actually exist within the brain cell. And those tau proteins, they collapse and they cause the tangles that you hear about in Alzheimer's. And they're already working on that next stage of, okay, we're beginning to address the amyloid beta buildup. And now let's look, what do we do about the tau protein? And there's like immunotherapy things that are going to come out that are going to handle that side of Alzheimer's. So it's an exciting time. It's every time you turn around, there's something else coming out.
And I always, when I go out and speak about dementia and Alzheimer's, I always try to use cancer as something to kind of compare a little bit to, because years ago it was a C word. Nobody wanted to talk about it, right? And then it took just for instance, breast cancer, it took a bunch of ladies knocking on the door at Washington's doorstep saying, hey, we need free mammograms, right? And it got people to talking about it. And the talking about it, look how far, breast cancer research has come, and how many people have been cured. And, there's not really a cure, but there's treatments where people can be in remission forever. It's amazing. And I feel that it's the same way with dementia and Alzheimer's. I think it's a conversation that we all need to have, the awareness that we all need to have those conversations. And that's why I think it's so awesome that it's come this far.
Well, you're correct. There's still a little bit of a stigma around it. The people don't want to talk about it. And there's still the other side of that. Some people still have the idea of, well, you're getting older, you're just that's what happens when you get older. Like, no, that's not normal. That's not it. This is a brain disease. This is not normal aging. And so we need to get past both of those ideas.
Correct, I agree.
And you're right, and have those conversations, and take advantage of the advances.
People don't realize, people can live up to 20 years with dementia. If you're healthy body-wise, because we've had a client that had it for 18 years before they passed away, and what finally got them was pneumonia.
Yes.
And they were only like on one blood pressure pill or something. It was just insane. They were so healthy, but like you said, it's a brain disease. And guys, if caregivers that are taking care of dementia patients, they go downhill quicker than any other caregiver, because it just takes such a toll on them.
Yes, 24/7.
Yes, and because because sometimes they are dealing with physical health problems, but then the cognitive part of it is just so hard for caregivers. I've seen this in my own family, and it's heartbreaking. And like you said, it's not normal. And once we stop thinking that, wouldn't you want your loved one, or wouldn't you? How about if it was you? Wouldn't you want to live a normal? I don't care if you were 80. I've seen some 94-year-olds that live a wonderful life. Age is just a number. You're put here for a purpose, but you want to be as healthy as you can be for as long as you can, because dementia is an ugly disease. You
brought about 19 real good points right there. But yeah, caregiver stress is huge, and we really emphasize caregiver health, because you may have someone, if you think about it, dad's 70 and he has dementia, and mom's 68 and she's the primary caregiver, and that's just the toll that takes. That's another reason we encourage and are moving toward early detection, because the earlier that you know about it, the better you can plan for how your care is going to progress, the better you can plan for your finances, the better you can work on assembling a caregiving team instead of it falling on one person. So
and that's a lot too. And a lot of people don't understand, I'm like, don't wait till somebody gets diagnosed to get all your business in order, because
financial decisions, legal decisions.
Then you have to get an attorney for the person who has dementia, because they have to be representative. They can't have your same attorney because there's a conflict of interest, because they cognitively cannot think for themselves or speak for themselves. I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah,
just
advanced
just put it
directives and all the
simply,
things you need. Yes.
Yeah. So the impact, which goes into the next point I want to talk to you about, is the impact of Alzheimer's and dementia on our state and our communities. I mean, it's huge.
It's huge.
People don't realize that.
About 70%, we believe, of folks with Alzheimer's and dementia are cared for at home, and so that's 70. If you have 104,000 people with a dementia diagnosis, you've probably got 70% at home. You have, I think the last number I heard was about 111,000, 112,000 family caregivers caring for them.
That's a lot of caregivers.
Right. So that's folks who they're taken out of the economy. They're either having to retire early. They're having to take jobs that pay less so they can
work from home.
So they can work from home, do things so they can be a caregiver. It's a tremendous financial burden, not just on families, but on all of the systems from Medicare, all the state systems, all the medical systems. So it's a toll that affects everyone.
And it's unpaid caregivers.
Yes.
I mean, that's what people don't realize. I mean, the statistics are outstanding. I know it's probably on. I don't know if it was on the graphic or not. How much it costs. Was it on that graphic? I know that we used to show it before because the amount of money that those caregivers would be making if they were hired as a professional caregiver. There it is. If it was a professional caregiver, the millions of dollars that the state, or it's amazing. It's just astounding, because these people are at home, and this is mental health on the caregiver too.
Very much so. Caregiver health is a huge issue.
And I think that it has a big impact on our community and state as far as insurance goes, because like Medicare, Medicaid, because the caregivers having to go to the doctor more too, or other things are starting to develop with them because they let their health go.
They don't take care of their own health.
Right.
Or they will literally work themselves to death.
And then they wait till it's too late, and then it's really bad. So that's a huge impact that people don't realize. I mean,
that's one of the things we really work hard on, is letting people know that there are helping agencies. I'm just continually surprised as I work around the state that people don't know that there are helping agencies in their community. People don't know about the AAAs. They don't know about the Area Agency on Aging.
Which is us.
Right, which is y'all. Everywhere in the state is covered by them. And everyone I know about, you could call them up and they'll say, here's 10 resources, in your community. People don't know about organizations like the Alzheimer's Association or other nonprofits. And so we really try to get the word out to caregivers. You don't have to face it alone. There's others who can come alongside of you.
That's right.
And help
we're going to take a break right quick, and when we come back, we're going to tell you some phone numbers that you need to write down. So we're going to take a short break. You're watching WEAC TV 24 Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cares program. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
The weather is warming up and spring is just around the corner at Miller Sand and Landscape Supply. I'm Craig Miller, and we've got something for everyone. From bulk materials like sand, gravel, and mulch to beautiful outdoor decor to make your outdoor living space the envy of the neighborhood. See our beautiful selection of Mazzarelli fountains, flowers to brighten your garden, and an outdoor center loaded with beautiful decor. Whether you need a little or a lot, visit Miller Sand and Landscape Supply.
Hey, this is Jason at Reeves Insurance. Just want to say a quick thank you to all of our customers for your support over the years. We now have offices in Anniston, Alexandria, and Oxford in order to serve you better. So stop in and see me or any of our experienced staff and let us shop for you. We'll find you the best price and the best coverage available. Thank you.
The Civilian Marksmanship Program, also known as CMP, is a national organization dedicated to training and educating U.S. citizens in responsible uses of firearms and air guns through gun safety training, marksmanship training, and competitions. Their vision is to lead the nation in marksmanship excellence, providing safe, high-quality, and innovative programs with a focus on youth. For more information about the CMP and upcoming events, visit thecmp.org.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cares program today on this Friday morning. I'm Ellen Tibbetts-Hurst, and I'm here with Billy Curtis from the Alzheimer's Association. We were talking before the break about caregivers and the stress and how they don't, many of them don't even realize all the resources that are out there for them. And because, you know, guys, I say this to caregivers all the time when I go speak, when I talk to our own caregivers that we deal with at work. You know, there's no handbook, unfortunately, and all these caregivers are just sent home saying, "Oh, well, your loved one has dementia," and it's pretty much like a pat on the back kind of. I mean,
and
it's
they send you out the door, and they send
you know
home.
what I mean? They send you home, and there you are. And I always like to compare that to frustration leads. It stems from stress, right? So when you're in stress, stems from something you don't understand. So when you don't have an understanding of something, it frustrates you, and you get short of patience. You get depressed. You get, you know, all these things that caregivers go through because they don't have any education of this disease that they're dealing with, and they take everything personal. And it's hard not to because that's their loved one, but the whole education, I feel, is like it helps them realize, hey, that's not the person, that's the disease that's doing this. It's not, please don't take this personal. So Billy had a good point that so many people do not know about the area agencies on aging, like we're the Alabama Cares program where we work. Always remember 1-800-AGE line. I always tell that to everybody in the state of Alabama, no matter where you are, what county you're in. If you call 1-800-AGE line, that number sends you directly to your area agency on aging. And there's a few places like up in Boaz where it crosses over from Marshall to Etowah County, but whichever one you get, I promise you, they will direct you into the right direction. And to get you some information, we can give you information about the Alzheimer's Association, and I want you to talk to them about this wonderful, because we refer people to it all the time. I just think it's wonderful, the phone number that you guys have at the Alzheimer's Association.
We have our 24/7 helpline, and you tell people, oh, just call an 800 number, and they're like, 800 number. But if you call this number 24 hours a day, whoever answers the phone, it's always going to be answered. Whoever answers has at least a master's level of education related to dementia. I like to tell people there is no question too off the wall or too bizarre. You've been to the doctor, and your doctor's throwing out medical terms at you, and you don't understand. You go home and you call the number and you say, okay, my doctor said these 3 things about my mom, and they'll try and walk you through it.
Right.
Or it's 3 in the morning, and you know your loved one is very agitated, and you don't know what to do with them. You can call, say, hey, it's 3 in the morning. I can't get my dad to settle down, and they'll say, okay, try A, B, and C. And see if that'll get you through the night, and call your physician in the morning.
Because you're going to actually get, like he said, at least a master's level professional. That's fantastic. I mean, you don't hear, we refer people to them all the time because you just don't ever hear that. Right. I mean, what 1-800 number can you call to get a professional that has a master's level in that field, that they can understand? And like we were talking about how, you know, people that have sundowners, for instance, or that are up all night, those caregivers, and like you said the perfect thing at break, you said you don't ever need a doctor when they're in the doctor's office from 8 to 5. You need them at 6, 7 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, 2 in the morning, and that's so true. And that's where this wonderful,
it's just a great resource. And and I tell everybody, you call. The last I heard that they have operators who can speak at least 12 languages, so they probably speak Southern. They can probably understand
Southern
that.
is a language, yes.
But it's 1-800-272-3900. Like I said, 24 hours a day. It's a great resource. And I tell everybody, if you're not a caregiver, remember the number, because you know somebody who is a caregiver, and go tell them about it.
Right. This is wonderful, guys. You need to make sure that you say the number again.
800-272-3900.
And that's, free, guys, free. I can't get over that. And then if you can't remember that number, always remember 1-800-AGE-LINE. 1-800-AGE-LINE, like I said, anywhere in the state of Alabama, it will direct you to your area agency on aging. And all the area agencies on aging, we all partner with you guys.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
in some shape, form, or fashion.
We have great relationships with the AAAs. They're awesome.
I mean, because we don't want to duplicate. We want to partner and help our community and help our state, and we want to be the best dementia-friendly state ever.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's why I do the dementia-friendly program. I teach first responders.
Awesome.
I go into schools, and I've actually done businesses now.
See?
I've actually had businesses where I have grocery stores and insurance companies and hotels and all these, that come in, and I think that's wonderful because it's something we just all need to talk about.
And especially you talked about like first responders and people in public-facing businesses. They may encounter someone who has dementia and not know what to do. There's people who have dementia who get stopped for shoplifting because
that's one I use a lot.
They put stuff in their pockets and forget about it.
Yeah.
And if a police officer doesn't know how to recognize the signs of dementia, he'll just think this is a shoplifter. But if he's been trained, he'll go, okay.
Right.
This person,
and it's really great because I go to the police academy, I actually go to police stations, I go to fire departments, and actually at the end of May I went to 911 in Etowah County.
That's awesome.
Because of they're the first ones that take those calls. So if they know more about it, they're going to be able to help the police officer, the EMT, the paramedic, the fireman, whoever. So, and I have like little videos and stuff of actual police calls and that kind of thing so that they can see, which is really great, and I'll never forget when I went into one particular fire department and taught, I had a gentleman that got very emotional because he was learning for the first time all these things about what they need to know about dementia and Alzheimer's, but it was very personal for him because his grandfather had dementia, and he didn't realize.
He started putting two and two together.
He started putting things together, and he was like, oh, okay, I shouldn't do that. And it's okay, when you go through any of the education or you ask questions, if you've done something that you really probably shouldn't do, it's okay. Hey, it's a learning curve. You just put it behind you, and then go forward, from that, So I think it's very important that we educate our communities, and I appreciate you so much for giving your time to come to our area and educate us.
This is why we exist. That's right.
Right. So. And I tell folks too, and they don't realize, yes, this is my job, but how wonderful would it be if we didn't have to talk about this?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, how about if there was a cure and we didn't have to? I mean, wouldn't that be awesome?
But the good news is we're taking those first steps in the right direction. So.
We are. And purple is the color for dementia. You've got the correct color on today. I didn't, I'm sorry. But so it's very important, and like you said, to have the conversation. And people say, well, why do you go into schools to talk about it? And I have little books that are K through 5th grade, and it's actually an evidence-based program through the state, and they actually give us a teacher's lesson plan, so that the teacher doesn't even have to come up with that, right? So I go into the elementary schools, K through 5th grade, and I can just go to one class and read a book, and then I donate those books to the school. And I have a show and tell with my robotic pets and all that. They love all that. We color, pictures of the brain and all that, and we talk about the brain. But a lot of folks say, well, why do you go into the schools that young? But we're starting the conversation. And then to me, kids are so, they tell everything. They just do. And so I think it's wonderful because when they go home, they can say, hey,
they've got some information.
This lady came to our class today, and she taught us about the brain and about dementia,
And you probably run into the same experience that we have. We've done a lot of education programs the last couple of years with in high schools with the career technical education programs.
I've done Etowah and Calhoun County.
And they love it and have been very responsive, and they're a lot of fun. But invariably, after the class is over, one or two of them will come up to you and go, I think my grandmother may have this. Can you tell me more about it?
My mom is taking care of my grandmother. She's having a hard time, and I didn't know about this.
And so then you really feel like you're having an impact.
Yeah, because I went to the Calhoun County Career Tech in the beginning of June, and then I went to Etowah County. No, at the end of May, I'm sorry. And then I went to Etowah County, I think in April. And Etowah County's career tech, I thought this was really cool. They actually brought in their robotics people in there because I showed the robotic pets. I had the show and tell, and you can see those kids' little wheels were turning, right? Because I said, you know, you don't have to go in the health field to help with this. Look at this invention. Like, you know, I mean, so I mean, it helps kids think about things in a bigger picture, I think. And like you said, it just plants that little seed for them to take home, or to, you know, like you said, I mean, who's to say that the kids that you talk to go, well, Mommy, here's a phone number that I found out about. You need to call this.
You need to get this checked on. You need to, so.
I mean, I think that's wonderful. I mean, I think that, and you know, people don't realize too, the impact, and I think we had this at our event the other day, where somebody asked you who the youngest person was that had dementia. People don't realize it's a brain disease. It's not an old disease. Yes, it happens more often in older people, just because of the way the body is. But there, you know, there's early onset.
Yep. If it's earlier than 65, we call it early onset, and people unfortunately do get it in their 50s, occasionally in their 40s, even cases younger than that.
Yeah, and you talked about how a lot of, well, some kids get it, well, some folks get it in their 30s, but it's because a lot of times it's very prevalent in people that have Down syndrome. Down syndrome
folks are at a much increased risk for getting dementia.
Right, yes. And it's because, you know, and I tell folks all the time too, you know, God forbid that you go out there and you have head trauma, you know, because there's so many things that could happen. And I even spoke to a football team, a university football team, and I'll never forget, this has been several years ago, and I'll never forget those kids were, you know, in there going, oh, why are we here, you know? And then once I said, how many times a day, you know, a week do you get hit in the head? And they just like looked at me real funny, you know, and I said, well, you know, here you go.
So every one of those is a potential brain injury, and those add up over the years, and so that does raise your risk factor.
You look at, and I always use the example of Muhammad Ali, who had Parkinson's, but you know, Parkinson's sometimes goes hand in hand
There's a Parkinson's dementia, yes.
And you know, and he got hit in the head how many times? You know what I mean? Like over his career.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that does have an impact on that.
And football players, of course, they're finding now, even soccer players, those repeated. Hockey.
MMA. Boxing. Yeah.
So I mean, protect your head.
Protect your head. When you're biking, all that is very important. Prevention, right? Prevention. And they also say now that hearing issues has a link to that. And I want to talk a little bit about that after our break.
Okay.
I mean, have you heard that?
I have a little information on that.
Okay, great. We'll talk about that when we get back from our break. So we're going to take another short break, everyone. You're watching WEAC TV 24 Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cares program, and we'll be right back.
On average, a tow truck operator is killed every 6 days in the United States. A tragic, yet preventable event. The fact is, most people don't know what it's like being a tow truck operator. The dangers that occur while servicing a roadside vehicle are real. However, you can make a difference to help lower this statistic and save lives by simply slowing down and moving over. This simple task can prevent an unnecessary death and allow workers to make it home to the families waiting for them. After all, it's the law in all 50 states for good reason. Do your part so they can live another day and be there for you when you need them. Move over. Their lives don't belong to you.
Backus Bibles and Books is dedicated to providing churches as well as individuals with products and services geared towards strengthening every relationship with Christ. We specialize in Bibles, Bible imprints, Bible restoration, church supplies, home decor, gifts, and apparel. Call us at 256-201-1202 or visit us Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 1100 Highway Drive in Oxford, Alabama. We look forward to serving you, equipping the people of God to expand the kingdom of God.
I want to live. The leading cause of death of young Americans like me is gun violence. and oftentimes tied to substance misuse. NBA, NFL, NCAA, most of you look like me, and our communities need you now more than ever. Let's make I Want to Live more than just a hashtag. Let's make it a movement. I am a baller against bullets.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Friday, and we are here on Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cares program right here on WEAC TV 24, and we are here with Billy. And thank you so much for coming.
Glad to be here.
Billy Curtis from the Alzheimer's Association, and it's Friday, and you know you've been on my show before, so
yes.
Every Friday we have to do the Friday dance. We got to do it's Friday. It's Friday. It's not even doing it. It's Friday, but we're there. He goes. He's doing a little bit. You got a little bit of wiggle in you, okay? But it is Friday, and just trying to make things light and everything because, like I said, you know, here in the last few weeks I've talked about some very serious subjects, things that people don't want to talk about: homelessness. I've talked about sex trafficking, mental health, suicide, all these things. But you know, just like and now today we're talking about dementia research and how to keep your brain healthy and all the things, and how wonderful it is that we are having this conversation because it's things that you need to talk about.
Yes.
You know, and before we left for a break, we were talking about the different tests again too. We were talking the retina thing still amazes me because you know, looking in your eyes, a doctor can tell a lot of things. They can tell strokes, all that kind of stuff. So that would make sense to me. That you know,
a potential diagnostic test.
Yes, a
just
potential
looking
test
into your eye.
That would be wonderful. And so I was asking you at break about how here lately you've been. Well, I've heard a lot lately in the news about how hearing, your hearing or lack of, can be connected to dementia.
Yeah, that's we've got some research that just proves that, and it's an interesting connection. It's if someone has dementia and they have untreated hearing loss, as I understand it, the dementia will accelerate faster if it's untreated, and so that's why it's very important in all older people, to make sure you're checking on your hearing. And then one thing that has always struck me is we have a lot of educational resources on behavioral issues that you have as someone going through a dementia journey from the caregiver perspective, and that's just so common that things like hearing aids and glasses, you forget to pay attention to those to older people, and you wonder why is Granddad just acting out with such anger and aggression? Was because his hearing aids aren't working, and he can't think how to tell you that his hearing aids aren't working.
Right.
And it's just so there's little things like that are just so important.
Yeah. So get those hearing aids if you need them. Right.
But even if someone has a dementia diagnosis, it's important to still pay attention to their hearing.
Yes, because that has to be frustrating. Because I talk to, like I said, when I do the dementia friendly program, especially to my first responders and everything, I always tell them how frustrating it would be to, because dysphagia is one of the things. You forget words, so they can't tell you what a hand is. They can't tell you where they're hurting or what's going on. So if they can't hear, and their hearing aids aren't working. And they can't see because they don't have, that would just amplify the whole behavioral issue, wouldn't it not?
Yeah, and then they're in their middle stage of dementia and they can't articulate it very well.
Right.
And it's like we tell folks in the caregiving classes, you have to start thinking about behavior as communication and figure out, okay, what is the behavior trying to tell me? Right,
they're agitated, uncomfortable or something.
Something's going on, and you got to start going as it goes. Granddad lost his glasses. That's why he's agitated.
And I always tell my folks, do the head to toe check, because a lot of times they don't know words. So I'll say, does your head hurt? Are you cold? Are you hot? Are you, does your shoulder hurt? That kind of thing. Can you hear? Can you say, those kind of things, because lots of times they can't verbalize, but at least you could maybe check their hearing aids to see if they're working too.
And that's a great communication strategy. Don't ask open-ended questions. Ask questions that have the answer already in them.
Right.
Instead of saying, "What's wrong?" or "What hurts?" you say, "Does your head hurt?" Yes, no. That they can respond to.
Right. Yes.
Do your feet hurt? Yes, no. They can respond to that. So
that's why I always say head to toe check. Are you hot? Are you cold?
Right.
Are you that kind of thing. So like you said, no open-ended questions. No, and a lot of times too, I think while we're on that subject too, is a lot of take your time when talking to someone with dementia, guys, because if you tell somebody when they wake up in the morning, hey, I need you to get up and I need you to go to the bathroom, and then I need you to brush your teeth, I need you to brush your hair, put on your clothes, and come downstairs for breakfast, you lost them in that very first thing that you told them, because their brain can't compute that. It's just too much. So you have to do it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And we tell people you have to exist in their reality,
right,
just where they are. And also remember, everything that person is doing makes perfect sense to them.
Yeah,
From
exactly.
their perspective, every action they're taking is the logical and correct action. So you just have to exist in their reality, do, like you said, some decoding, some investigation, figure out what's going on.
Think outside the box is what I
very much
always
so.
That's
Yes.
what I always
Yeah.
say. And you know, I always tell caregivers too, I mean, just take one for the team. I mean, hey, if something happens and they're getting agitated about something, say, well, I'm sorry, that's on me, I didn't mean to, just take the blame for it or whatever, because guess what, and I hate to say that, but in 10 minutes they're going to forget.
Right.
And so sometimes you just, like you said, you're existing in their world because they can't help it, they can't
Right.
change it. You're the only one that can change the dynamics a little bit. So I agree. It's a good way good thing to say to them. I appreciate you coming today so much.
Oh, we enjoy it. We're always happy to help out over here. We
And
appreciate
say
our
the
friends. 1-800-272-3900.
Yes.
And you can also find it on our website, alz.org, easy to remember.
Okay.
Lots of other resources there also.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, guys, this is, and look for that logo too on alz.org. You'll see that logo, because it's so important. And I just think that 1-800 number is just great to be able to call somebody. That's such a great resource for all the caregivers. And like I said, if you guys can't remember that, just always remember 1-800 age line, and those people can, wow, they can tell you all kinds of information. And another good resource too that I give to folks a lot of times, because some areas that are way rural that we don't, sometimes they know stuff that we don't know about, is 411.
Oh, sure.
If you call 411, you can say, hey, I need all of the, places I can get free food or whatever it is in, I don't know, I'm in Lineville, or I'm in, I'm in Wedowee, I'm in wherever, and then they can give you all the resources for that area. I mean, we can too, but a lot of times it doesn't hurt to call both. Sometimes, it's better to have too much information than not enough.
Like I said, if they don't know, they may say, try this number, send you in a different direction.
Right. So anything new and exciting that you can think of that's coming up, or in research or events or anything with the Alzheimer's Association?
Of course, the Longest Day fundraiser that we're doing right now, and then we kick off walk season in October. We have 8 walk events in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, don't forget October 12th is
October
ours.
12th is the most important one.
Yeah, that's my most important.
right.
I'm on the board of that one. So
I got to come to that one last year, had a great time.
yeah,
Great
October
event.
12th is ours, and we're hoping that it just grows every year. And it's not an all-day thing. You're in and out of there in just a few hours, I think. And it's fun to come and bring the family and the kids and bring your dog. There's always like a pet station there too, but it's always a fun time. And you can actually raise money until the end of December.
Yes.
So even though our walk is in October, you can raise money to the end of December and then turn it in. But we would love for you to sign up for a team. Come and dressed in purple tutus, crazy socks, crazy purple shirts, anything, whatever.
All the purple you can find.
Purple wigs, whatever you want to do. Yeah, we want everybody there to have a good time, to get the conversation started and talking about dementia, and hopefully all that money that we raise we'll find the first cure one day.
Keep moving it forward.
Would that be awesome? And don't forget, like I said, the 1-800 age line for all things. But so is there any other things that we're maybe forgetting?
Look for that blood test is probably the biggest next thing when it gets to the point
that you can. What is it called? Is there a name to it?
I haven't heard a name to it.
They haven't named it. Okay.
It's gone through FDA final approval,
Okay.
so now it's just a matter of getting, I guess, a form that can actually be in a doctor's office. And
that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
How simple would that be?
Yeah,
and how much more simple? Because guys, I've been through this with family, and I'm telling you, it's rough when you have somebody that's educated, that knows a little bit about what's going on, even though that they have dementia. It's hard to get them to that office and tell them, oh, I need you to have this cognitive test or whatever. So that blood test would be so
That'd be a
much.
good way.
How much easier would that be for a caregiver?
and get that. Yeah, they might get it done as they would just think it was part of all.
That's what I'm saying.
All the blood they're pulling out of you when you go to the doctor.
They have to get blood for me for my diabetes, or they're just checking my blood for an infection or what.
And those 9 vials they fill up every time you go in. Yeah. And they can check it that way.
So they would just think that would be fantastic. And don't forget also that the Alabama Cures program, every month we have our monthly event. Every month at the Oxford Civic Center. It is a free program. I'm going to keep telling you that it is free. We have vendors there. We have all kinds of door prizes there. Billy was our speaker this week. We had it Tuesday. He was our speaker on Tuesday. And so every month, like I said, there's a graphic up there. We have a different speaker. July is Kids Grandparents Day. August is Scams, Fraud, and Identity Theft, which we have an expert, Carl Bates from the Better Business Bureau, will be speaking about that, which is always fantastic. September is Healthy Aging Month. We'll have free glucose checks, blood pressure checks, flu shots, hearing tests, eye checks, and then let's see. October is cancer awareness. November is caregiver awareness. And December is holiday wellness, where we'll have checks again, but we'll also have actually entertainment. We'll have singers there singing to get us in the holiday spirits. And we always do holiday wellness because people just let themselves go during the holidays. They think about everybody else but themselves, right? So these are our events for 2025. And guys, I tell folks all the time, where are you going to be able to go somewhere without having to get an appointment or pay for a consultation? This is free, and we've had doctors there. We've had all different kinds of experts there. You can ask questions. People asked you questions Tuesday. A lot of great questions. And so it's free, and you can ask as many questions as you want. That's why we're there. So please make sure to tell your family, your friends, your church folks, your neighbors, everybody, right? So we want to let you know about that. And then I'm going to remind you about October 12th is our walk at Jacksonville State University. It's the East Central Alabama Walk, where they can go to www.alz.org. And I think it's I think maybe if you just put in walks, you can go find East Central Alabama Walk.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's ECA Walk or if you spell it out. I can't remember.
I think you have to spell it out. But
I can't remember.
But you can do a search and it'll send you right to it.
Yeah, but you can search it on their website and it'll take you to it. And you can join that. You can have your team join there, or if you don't have a team, you as an individual can just join our walk.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and raise money, and hopefully we'll find that first cure one day. So any parting words for you today?
Just be hopeful. It's a hopeful time. We're moving forward in this. It's not what it was 20 years ago, where there weren't resources and there weren't helping aides and there weren't agencies. We have resources and we have drugs. So it's good.
Which is great, because like I said beforehand, we talked about how I remember when it was just Aricept.
Yep.
Is the only thing that was out there, and now there's several other things, like you said before. So if you missed this show, you need to go back and watch it. Make sure to go to YouTube, Roku, Fire Stick, Apple, all the things. Go to WESC TV 24's page on Facebook, or you can go to the Alabama Cares program, East Alabama. You can watch it on there. We always put it on there. And it's Friday, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next Friday, and have a safe and wonderful weekend, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.